It's the big crowd in the big ballpark in the Bronx. Yankee Stadium in New York, New York. The Red Sox and Yankees ready to open up this 2005 season. As of last night, there was doubt that we'd be able to get this game in. There was so much rain that had fallen here in New York. And here to tell us the current conditions and the weather forecast and everything else about what's going on, let's go down to our colleague Sam Ryan.
And John, soggy, one word to describe the weekend in New York. But hey, 2 inches of rain, something Yankee Stadium can handle. I spoke to the grounds crew. They told me this field can take up to 10 inches of rain an hour. They didn't get that much. It's a sand-based field that was put in place 4 years ago. And the grounds crew, John, told me, hey, we are very comfortable with the field conditions tonight.
All right, Sam, thank you. And Sam will be with us throughout the evening. The Yankees have taken the field, and the weather forecast, in fact, right now it's only 40 degrees, and it feels like 35. So it's cold out there, and a little bit of a wind as well, which is blowing out toward left field. Now let's take a look at the Boston Red Sox batting. One of the chief idiots at first base, as he likes to call himself, and his ball club, Jason Varitek. He's back with the Red Sox. His Yankees debut, one of the best in the game, but now 41 years old.
Well, let's take a look at the scouting report. And here's the key. He can overpower hitters with 3 different pitches. You have pitchers in the major leagues who can overpower hitters with maybe 1 pitch, or they have a great curveball. But he has 3 great pitches, a fastball, slider, and a splitter. And the opponents, you can see what they hit against Randy Johnson. You do not want to bat against them if you're trying to hit 300.
In fact, if you hit, say, 220, that's pretty good.
That's real good. Anything over 200.
And there are not many of the Red Sox in the lineup tonight who have done well against Randy Johnson, but that's probably just about anybody's lineup on any night. Most guys just do not do well. And you have to give Damon and Ortiz, the 2 big left-handed hitters in the lineup tonight. They're in there every day against all comers. A lot of lefties.
Yeah,
find a reason to not be in there when Randy's pitching.
Yeah. I think this is opening day. And those guys are an integral part of this ball club. And you're right, Trot Nixon, the left-handed right fielder, is not playing.
Although Trot did not ask out of the game. That was manager Terry Francona's decision. So here we go. We pick up where we left off last October, which was in this ballpark. And the Red Sox completed what seemed to be impossible, something that had never been done in the history of Major League Baseball. They came from being 3-0 behind in a best-of-7 series to win. Johnny Damon goes after that first pitch, and the 2005 season is underway.
Well, Randy Johnson does what he does best, especially against left-handed hitters. He will fire the fastball on the inside part of the plate, and he also has that devastating slider. It's very difficult for a left-hander to handle.
Showing bunt that time. Damon took a ball high. No bunt attempt on the appeal. Third base umpire was asked, Tom Hallion, and he ruled in favor of Damon. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Sometimes it's more difficult to bunt a fastball pitcher than it is to swing at it.
And that's a ball down and away. 2-1 now to Johnny Damon, Edgar Renteria, and Manny Ramirez to follow. Damon led off that 7th game last October with a home run, made an immediate statement. Now it's ball 3, and then later hit a grand slam that really was the backbreaking hit of that game. And the Red Sox not only won the game, I mean, it was a laugher.
Yeah, I think the first inning home run was the big blow because it got them off to a good start on the road.
Showing bunt and taking the called strike. Now it's 3-2.
Well, you can see he had a very successful Game 7 after struggling the first 6 games.
That's the new Yankees second baseman, Tony Womack, and there is one away.
Well, good job by Randy Johnson to come back from that 3-1 count and get Damon on the ground ball. But Damon did his job. He made him work. He did not swing at the 3-1 pitch. He made him have to throw one more pitch.
Well, Randy Johnson has always been a real hard thrower, but he has not always been a guy with excellent control.
Right.
And Joe, I think there's something interesting to bring out there as there's ball 1 down and into Edgar Renteria. Damon gets back to the dugout, and immediately some of the Red Sox hitters go over and talk to him.
Well, a lot of these guys have not faced Randy Johnson in competition. They may have faced him in spring training sometime or maybe an all-star game. But they want to know how much his fastball is really moving now.
On the inside corner for a strike.
Or he also saw a slider and he saw a splitter. He saw all of Johnson's pitches, so he can give a good scouting report to the hitters when he gets back to the dugout.
So little bits of information they were hoping to get from Johnny Damon, who made Johnson, although he went out, made him throw 6 pitches.
And that's exactly what you want from your leadoff hitter. You try to get a chance for all the players on the bench to see all of his pitches.
So Johnny Damon got that done. 1 out, nobody on. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Edgar Renteria.
Well, Renteria is one of the few guys, who have had a lot of at-bats against Randy.
Slider just missing down and in. And that pitch, you might as well take it. It's tough to hit.
This is a little slider, and you can see it breaks hard off the plate inside, and the K-zone shows that it was off the plate inside. But it's difficult to lay off with 2 strikes.
Strike 3, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball on the inside.
Inside, and he fires the fastball right there. Although K-Zone will disagree with Joe West.
Joe West, the plate umpire, Brian Gorman, Mike DeMuro, and Tom Hallion on the bases from first to third. 2 down, nobody on. Manny Ramirez. That is a strike. Manny, who led the American League with 43 home runs a year ago. He hit .308. Ton of RBIs on the fists. That's a foul out of play, and quickly Manny is behind 0-2 to Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson's always difficult to hit, but when he gets in front of you and gets the best of the count, you're really in trouble after that because he has so many ways to go. As we mentioned, he has 3 out pitches, not just 1. You can't look for anything special from him. You have to look for all 3 and handle whatever you see.
Well, Randy Johnson is one of the great strikeout pitchers of his time or any time. And in New York, when it's 2 strikes, they come to their feet. And that is strike 3 called on the inside corner. And Ramirez thought it was too far in. So Randy Johnson, first inning as a Yankee, is a strong one. 2 strikeouts. Baseball's opening night, the 2005 season beginning right here with the Red Sox and the Yankees. The Red Sox have gone down. Now the Yankees batting order. It'll be Derek Jeter, the captain, at shortstop. He won the Gold Glove last year. Alex Rodriguez at third base and hitting second, where he finished up last year hitting. It'll be Gary Sheffield, the veteran in right field. 121 RBIs his first year as a Yankee. Ruben Sierra, surprised, I think, some people were that he was the DH. Hideki Matsui in left field. He had a big year last year. This Yankee team's got a great lineup. Jorge Posada, the veteran catcher. Then Jason Giambi, and he got a big ovation when introduced before the game. He's hitting 7th. Bernie Williams, Yankee perennial. He's in center field, but hitting 8th. And Tony Womack, the former Cardinal, is at second base, batting 9th. Hit 300 for the Cardinals last year. There is the former Yankee, 41-year-old left-hander, and a great fan of Babe Ruth, David Wells.
And let's take a look at the scouting report. I think his key to his success has always been his control. He has a great control of all of his pitches, curveball, fastball, and a straight change, and he's pitched 200-plus innings the last 9 of the 11 seasons he's pitched.
And he misses up and away with ball 1. David Wells wearing the Babe's number, which, of course, he couldn't do at the Yankees. He was a huge fan of Babe Ruth. But in New York, of course, that number's not available. They retired that one. 1 ball and no strikes. Jeter, a bloop. That's falling. That is in there. Base hit. Jeter muscles one in.
Well, the one thing about David Wells, he loves pitching here in the stadium. He would prefer it would be for the Yankees, but the Yankees did not, sign him as a free agent in the offseason. But he loves pitching here, and his control is going to be the key again. And there you see his winning percentage here in Yankee Stadium.
Great winning percentage here, the 7th best among all pitchers who made at least 50 starts here. And one of those 44 wins was a perfect game 7 years ago. Alex Rodriguez, the hitter. He chases that high fastball. Alex maybe looked a little over-anxious there, Joe.
Yeah, I want to make one prediction, though, John. I believe that Alex Rodriguez will be hitting lower in this batting order. I think he's going to end up hitting 4th. I think last year he had a lot of distractions. He's new to New York. He had a lot going on. I think he's settling in, and I think before this season is over, he will be put in the 4th slot where he can do a lot more damage than he can from the 2nd slot.
Jeter back to the bag at first. Jeter, who can steal a bag. Jeter had 23 steals last year. Joe Torre, he's the one who makes that lineup, and he moved A-Rod to the number 2 spot in early September last year.
When we were here.
And A-Rod got hot and finished the regular season on a hot streak. That's too low. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I actually think that this Yankee lineup will be a lot better this year than it was in the last year. And the reason for that is Gary Sheffield will have a full season here. Plus, he's healthy. A-Rod will have a full season. And I think that those 2 guys alone will make this a much better lineup. Plus, they're going to have a healthy Giambi for the whole season.
1 ball, 1 strike. Jeter, the runner at first. That's a pop foul out of play. Now, A-Rod has faced Wells often over the years. He's had 56 career at-bats against him and has hit 7 home runs. So he's had a lot of success against Wells. He's averaged 1 home run every 8 at-bats against Boone.
Well, the one thing about David Wells, he will not back off of anyone. He will throw strikes. He will not pitch around you, even though Alex Rodriguez may have been the big gun in Texas and Seattle. He will not pitch around you. He tries to make pitches. He accepts the challenge when he steps on the mound.
1 and 2. Going back to his game, but he's got room. That's the big field here at Yankee Stadium. 408 the straightaway center. And back to first goes Derek Jeter.
And that was an at-bat that he was able to get Rodriguez out because he was ahead in the count. And he got a fastball in on the hands a little bit. If he throws that same pitch, the first pitch, Rodriguez probably would have drilled it someplace. That's the advantage of pitching ahead in the count.
Well, with the cool temperatures, as we told you, it's right at 40 degrees and it's windy. Pitchers have been given permission to blow on their hands to keep the feeling in their fingertips. Ordinarily, that is not allowed. Here is Gary Sheffield, and Jeter is back to the bag at first. Being held in the bag over there by Kevin Millar. Well, we got 2 of the premier offensive lineups in all of baseball going here. The Red Sox, who scored a ton of runs last year. But this Yankee lineup, I mean, you start the game, and their power's already up. It's not like you work up to their power. Sheffield with a big cut with a high foul off the left field line. Manny Ramirez starts over. That's back in amongst the spectators. The wind, as evidenced by the flags out of the upper rim of the ballpark out in left field, is blowing out toward left, but he can't really use that as a guide. It tends to sometimes do just the opposite. With the wind blowing that way, the ball to left field might get knocked down.
Then you mentioned that it is cold here, John. Hitters do not like cold weather.
You saw that flag out there in left field blowing straight out into the Bronx. 1 strike to count. Backing up on a tough hot Miller. He fields it cleanly, and the ball home to first, not in time. Sheffield still runs well.
It was a nice play by Miller. That was a tough hop. He got the in-between hop. And watch this. He gets it right in between. So he had to back up even. Gets the in-between hop. Then he makes a nice throw to Bellhorn. He tries to turn it. But as you said, Sheffield still runs well, and he beat it out easily.
And he had Jeter to contend with, too, coming in hard on him at second base. So Sheffield is aboard. Bill Miller. And I think he's been an outstanding third baseman for many, many years, starting with the Giants, then with the Cubs, now with the Red Sox. Here is Ruben Sierra. And a curveball, the first curve of the night from David Wells in the dirt. 1 ball and no strikes. Now, Joe Torre, when queried as to why Sierra was in the lineup, and also in the lineup hitting cleanup, he said, well, I just couldn't ignore his numbers against David Wells. He's had great success against him. And so Jason Giambi is the first baseman tonight. Sierra is DHing. No score in the game. 2 down, runner at first. Just off the outside to Sierra. David Wells, when he was in grade school in San Diego, he wrote a class report on Babe Ruth. And he's been fascinated with the Babe ever since. He's got 3 Babe Ruth autographed baseballs. He's got one of Babe's old caps that Babe wore in games that Wells himself wore in a game when he was with the Yankees. So the umpire made him take it off. He's got a Yankees baseball that Lou Gehrig signed on the sweet spot. But there's the Babe's number 3. David Wells is wearing it in Boston. Of course, Wells, a former Yankee, now at the Red Sox. And there's the Babe himself out at Monument Park here at Yankee Stadium. He started with the Red Sox and then moved to New York. And when he was with the Red Sox, he was a pitcher. That's a strike right on the outside. 2-2. Back when he was with the Yankees, he had that Babe Ruth cap, and he wore it in a game 8 years ago. And
that looks like the Babe's hat. The one he wore.
And when you first looked at it, it looked like the Babe might still be wearing it. He wore it for an inning, and then the umpire realized what he was doing, and he told him to take it off. And Sierra chased that fastball up and away. Strike 3. So David Wells gives up a leadoff single. That's it. No score in the game. David Ortiz coming up. Now the Red Sox with their great slugger David Ortiz up against the great left-hander Randy Johnson, and it is inside for ball 1.
And this is the first time Ortiz has ever faced Randy Johnson.
Hits it hard down the right field line. That will go into the corner beneath the 314 marker. Sheffield's got a strong arm. Poppy's not that fast. The throw a little bit offline, and he's got a double.
I mean, that tells you how good a hitter Ortiz is. I mean, he just walks up there, never seeing Randy Johnson before. And most people will tell you the first time you see him, you can't imagine how close his release point is to the plate when he lets it go. But Ortiz not only hits it, he turns on it and pulls it down into the corner. And he hustles it into a double. I mean, right away he's going for second base. He never slowed down, and he makes it. Sheffield's throw a little bit offline, but nice hustle there by David Ortiz.
Now here is Kevin Millar. Well, I mean, most left-handed hitters dread facing Randy Johnson. The ones who do play against him don't hit him. I think lefties hit, what, a 160 or 164 against Johnson last year. And some of them, either they just sit out because, hey, they know they can't hit him, or the man, or they, they tell the man, my back is killing me. Kevin Millar, and that is a slider too low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jason Varitek is on deck.
Well, one thing you always do if you've never faced a guy, you walk up there, you want to see a couple of pitches so you can find his release point and find out how much movement's on his fastball. Well, David Ortiz didn't care. He just walked up there, got a pitch, and hit it.
That ball is hit high and deep to left field. Into the corner. Matsui at the wall. He's got it. He took it away from him. Ortiz back to second. Somebody caught a clock. Millar got robbed.
Well, I tell you, that was a good play by the he went back to the wall perfectly. I think that's the key. See, watch, he knows where the wall is. He just continues to feel for it with his hand. And he reaches over the wall and comes up with the ball. Nice play there. I think the wind held that one up because I thought when he first hit it, it was out. But an excellent play and excellent timing by Matsui.
I mean, it sounded like it came out of a cannon.
Right.
He hit it so hard. But I agree with you, Joe. I think when wind is hitting that big superstructure out there in left field, it might have turned around and knocked that ball down. There's a strike to Jason Varitek. And you see the flags out there blowing out toward left field, but that ball did not carry. That slider's in the dirt. A ball and a strike to Varitek. David Ortiz led off with a double, which he hit very hard. And then Kevin Millar crushed one.
It was interesting, John, in that at bat. The first pitch to Kevin Millar, he tried to go the other way to move Ortiz along. And then Randy Johnson noticed that, so he threw him a slider inside the next pitch, and then he came inside again. And Millar turned on it. So that was a nice cat and mouse kind of thing there watching. He went up with one thing in mind, and Randy Johnson forced him to do something else.
Broken back. Ortiz is going to move to third. Jeter takes a look, but throws to first and gets it. A little bit of a low throw, but Giambi stretched out to get it. 2 down, runner at third now. Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association have jointly donated $1 million to the MLB MLBPA Disaster Relief Fund. This donation was coordinated through the White House and was included as part of the relief effort headed by former Presidents George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton. Additional donations were made from a portion of sales via the online store at MLB.com, the official website of Major League Baseball. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, and here we go. Sunday Night Baseball, our 16th season, and it's the Yankees and the Red Sox this time to kick off the season. Most teams will play their openers tomorrow, and the ones that don't open tomorrow will open on Tuesday. But this is the one game that gets it all started. And fittingly, it's the Yankees and the Red Sox. Off the fists, Jay Payton, who used to play here in New York with the Mets. He came up with the Mets originally in his first game as a Red Sox and having to face Randy Johnson. And he's in there instead of Trot Nixon tonight.
Well, I think the reason is also is that he's faced Randy a lot, being in the National League with Randy. And also, the fact is, I think he swings the bat well. He's a good fastball hitter.
And he got the fastball there, and he fouled it straight back. 1-2. The manager, Terry Francona, players call him Tito. That was his dad's name. His dad, a former big leaguer.
And a real good hitter.
It's been a long time since the Red Sox had a manager who in his first year led the Red Sox to a World Series championship. At least 86 years. And he put Payton in there instead of Trot Nixon. The slider, and that's a base hit. So Jay Payton delivers in the clutch, a 2-out RBI single. Ortiz in to score, and it is 1-0 Red Sox.
Well, it's not a bad pitch. It's a slider that's trying to get it down and in. And Jay Payton just goes down, gets it, and lines it in the left field for a base hit. Good piece of hitting. And when you can hit a good fastball, you can handle a good slider, and that's what Jay Payton does. He handles the hard stuff very well.
Ball one to Bill Miller. Miller, also a former National Leaguer. He's had experience against Johnson. He's not had many good experiences against him. He's had 4 hits and 19 at-bats lifetime. Last year hit .283 for the Red Sox. He's a switch hitter. And that breaking ball is off the outside. So now Johnson is behind in the count. 2 balls and no strikes. We're at the beginning of the telecast. We had what we call our tease that opened the telecast. David Ortiz talking about the difference now as Johnson missed badly with that fastball and it's 3-0. But David Ortiz, I like the way he put it, Joe. He says, hey, since the Red Sox won it last year, overtaking the Yankees, before it was a curse. He says, now it's a rivalry.
Well, I think, looking at the history of this rivalry between the two teams, the Yankees always had the best of it. They had the Bucky Dents. They had the Aaron Boones. They had so many people that had broken the hearts of Red Sox fans.
2-1 the count. And that's a foul out of play on a fastball. And even last year, when the Red Sox won it all, And they did it in historic, epic fashion, coming from 3 games to none behind in that playoff series with New York. But in the regular season, they finished second place to the Yankees. And they finished second place 7 consecutive times now. 2-2. And that's ball 4 up and away. So Johnson with his first walk. That moves Payton to second. And the batter will be Mark Bellhorn. Here's Miller taking over at first base. Johnson with the walk. He used to be a wild guy when he originally came up with Montreal and then went to Seattle. And I don't mean wild in his personal life. He just was wild on the mound. He had incredible stuff and often didn't know where the ball was going. And we really on Sunday Night Baseball, Joe, I think we watched him develop back in the early 90s. He started putting it all together. Become one of the great pitchers of his or any other time. He's thrown 20 pitches in this inning. And that is a check swing. That's too high. 1 ball, 1 strike to count now to Mark Bellhorn. Bellhorn was one of the guys in that series with the Yankees last year. Like Johnny Damon, early in that series, he couldn't get a hit. And the fans were all over him. And they were all over Terry Francona for staying with him. But then eventually Bellhorn got it going. Johnson having some problems with that fastball, so he drops a slider in there at the knees for a strike. 1-2.
Good slider. Caught a lot of the plate on the inside part of the plate, but it was very sharp, breaking curve slider.
Another one. Strike 3 call. The Red Sox lead 1-0. Matsui, Posada, and then that man, Jason Giambi, coming up for the Yankees. Yankee Stadium in New York. Opening night for Major League Baseball, presented by the Home Depot. Here we go now to the last half of the second inning. Everybody's here tonight. Billy Crystal, Tony Danza, and earlier we saw the Donald. He's here, Joe.
Yeah, my buddy Steve Tyrell is in George's box tonight, too.
And David Wells is quickly ahead of Matsui, 0-1. There's the Donald.
Regis, Phil, there are a lot of guys.
Hey, Reg is here. And strike the count now to Matsui. And that is called a strike. A check swing by Matsui. But it was in there. 0-2 the count. Matsui, what a series he had against the Red Sox last October. Although he, like the rest of the sluggers on the Yankees, was held in check at the end of that series. One ball, 2 strikes to count to him. In that series, he had 14 hits. The first 3 games, they just couldn't get him out. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Inside for a ball. 2-2 the count. I mean, David Wells, I mean, he's all about pitching. I mean, the real art of pitching.
In, out, up and down, changing speeds.
In fact, one of your fellow Hall of Famers, Tom Seaver, had a book at one time called The Art of Pitching. 2-2 the count. And that's a foul. And that's not to be confused with the book The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. The Art of Pitching. Guess which one I read?
I probably should have read The Art of the Deal as well, because I wasn't going to do anything with the pitching aspect.
Well, no, if you're saying if I read The Art of the Deal, no, that's not it.
I should have.
Yeah, you should. We probably both should have. 2-2 to Matsui. Posada on deck. 1-0 Red Sox. Inside. 3-2. It looks like Johnny Damon in his home uniform out of the bleachers. So it's not all Yankee fans here tonight. There's the real deal out there in center field. David Wells with a 3-2 count. Left center. And that's in there. Base hit. Manny Ramirez plays it on the hop. lot of room to cover in left and left center in this ballpark. 399 to the power alley in left center.
Well, David Wells was trying to finish him off with a fastball in, but he gets the ball up. That was his mistake. He got the ball up and out over the plate, and he slapped it into left center for a base hit. He had him set up for a fastball inside, and he couldn't get it there.
So Matsui gets the Yankees' second hit, and here is Jorge Posada. Now, on a cold night like this, and let's face it, I mean, the wind chill had it in the mid-30s at game time. And I know it's tough for a hitter. You get jammed and all that kind of stuff. It's not that easy to pitch in either, though.
No, but it's easier on the pitcher because he's throwing so many pitches. He's able to keep, his body temperature up by moving around and throwing pitches. Whereas a hitter, you sit around, you stand around, and then you have to go into the batter's box. So I think it is easier for pitchers, although it's not easy for anyone. No one likes to play in cold weather. You prefer it to be, that's why we have spring training in Florida. And Arizona and places like that, warm climates.
There's a high fly ball into shallow right. Jay Payton. One down, and here comes Giambi. Let's listen to Bob Shepard.
Number 25, Jason Giambi. First base. Number 25.
Bob Shepard, the voice of Yankee Stadium, introducing Jason Giambi. And Giambi not only gets an ovation, many at Yankee Stadium are standing.
Well, I think that some of them feel like he was a stand-up guy when he came out and had the press conference and, said he was sorry for bringing a lot of bad publicity to baseball.
So now David Wells to Jason Giambi with Matsui at first, one out. It's in the dirt. Dug out by Veritek, and a new ball will be put in play. Giambi, of course, in the grand jury testimony, he had testified before the grand jury in December about a year and a half ago, and his testimony apparently was leaked to the San Francisco Chronicle, and according to the testimony that was printed in the Chronicle, he admitted to using all manner of steroids and other enhancements as a foul out of play. And before the season started, before he went to spring training, he had a press conference and apologized, although his apologies were very profuse. None other than George Steinbrenner didn't think they were quite all-encompassing enough, because he never actually mentioned specifically what he was apologizing about.
Yeah. Well, I think part of his apology, as I said, was for bringing, a lot of bad publicity to baseball. He did not touch on the steroid issue, but he did say he was apologizing for the bad publicity.
That one is through. They were overloaded on that side, but still Giambi whipped it through the hole. And around to third goes Matsui.
Well, that'll go a long way with keeping the Yankee fans on his side. And that's good hitting there. He's able to pull this ball into the hole. You have a runner at first, you have a big hole on the right side, and that was a weakness for him last year. Fastballs on the inside part of the plate he could not get around on, and that's why David Wells went right after him on the inside part of the plate. He had a lot of trouble with inside fastballs last year, especially up.
So Giambi is aboard. Matsui over to third. David Wells in a jam now with one out, and Bernie Williams comes up. Bernie played his first home opener at Yankee Stadium all the way back in 1992. Although, actually, he said he was on the team that year, but he recalled actually not playing in that game. But he said he enjoyed watching it from the dugout. This is the final year of his contract, perhaps his final year as a Yankee. That's on the inside corner with a fastball. Strike one. Terry Francona having to do without his ace right-hander, Curt Schilling. At the start of the season, Schilling pitched in a minor league camp game yesterday through 8 1/3 innings. He's going to make one minor league start for the Pawtucket Red Sox in a few days, and is going to be back apparently on the 13th if all goes well, and face the Yankees at Fenway Park. That curveball too high. 1 ball, 1 strike. For the Red Sox, who lost Pedro Martinez, who signed with the Mets. They lost Derek Lowe, who signed with the Dodgers. two of their big winners, and without Curt Schilling right now. One of the guys they signed, though, is on the mound. David Wells. Curveball, beauty. 1-2.
Well, a good curveball starts in the strike zone and breaks out. This is a very good curveball from David Wells. Looks like it's going to be a strike, and all of a sudden the bottom falls out and it's out of the strike zone. It's a strike, it's a strike. Now it stays in the strike zone. He just catches it out. And across the plate, I guess it was. But look at the break on that ball. Nice pitch there by David Wells.
Bernie's had a lot of at-bats against Wells over the years, 66, but not a whole lot of success, hitting only .227 lifetime against him. Runners at first and third. Fastball. That'll stay in the yard, but Matsui tagging at third. Manny makes the catch. He's going to throw to second as Matsui scores to tie the game. So Bernie Williams fell behind, but he gets that runner home from third to tie the game.
Well, good job at hitting there by Bernie Williams, especially after he fell behind the 2 strikes. So job then is just to put the ball in play, and he does a good job of getting it to the outfield. He sees receiving congratulations from his teammates because he got the job done.
Matsui got it all started with a single. Now he has scored the Yankees' first run. And here comes Tony Womack, the new Yankees second baseman. He was another guy who lost to the Red Sox last October. His Cardinals were beaten by the Red Sox in the World Series, and he takes a strike. You saw Bill Miller at third playing very tight on him. Womack has a lot of speed. He's a good bunter. And I mean, he's a leadoff type hitter, an igniter, but Joe Torre's got him sort of as in the American League, because the pitcher doesn't bat. He's the second leadoff man, hitting 9th.
Well, he's the guy that Joe Torre wanted. He wanted to add some speed and some base stealing ability to this lineup.
Into the hole. This is going to be a tough play. Renteria over to second. That was the only hope, and it was in time to get Giambi. Yanks tie it up 1-1 after 2. Now coming up, a tumultuous offseason in baseball, and we'll be talking about the steroid issue when we return to Yankees. It is opening night. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan, and let's see, Joe, we're right down there, aren't we? Yanks won, Red Sox won. Johnny Damon, the leadoff man, facing Randy Johnson, and he takes a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Damon grounded out to second his first time. That fastball, and it's ball 2. 2-0 the count. Today, Alex Sanchez of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays became the first big league player to be suspended for violating Major League Baseball's joint drug prevention and treatment program. It's announced by the commissioner's office. Giambi not able to handle that one, and Damon is aboard. Of course, that's been a big story and a lingering story. September of 2003, the raid on the Balco laboratories out in the San Francisco area. Grand jury testimony was leaked to the San Francisco Chronicle. The Chronicle wrote articles this past December. Major League Baseball announced a new drug testing policy in January. Jose Canseco had his book released in February. The congressional hearings involving baseball players and former players, as well as baseball executives at the House of Representatives during spring training. And now today, Alex Sanchez, who had just made the 25-man roster of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Renteria right to third. A-Rod to second one. Womack to first. A double play. So 2 down, nobody on.
Well, one of the things, John, I think I'm a little disappointed about is that I read this press release, and basically it just says for drug, controlled substance. It doesn't say anything about steroids. And I thought one of the things that was going to cover up some of the flaws in the testing policy was going to be that disclosure would be a detriment to using drugs, and also peer pressure. Well, if you're not going to announce what it was, I don't see how that's going to help you in a disclosure manner. So, I mean, we're all sitting here guessing. I mean, sure, they're reporting that it's steroid, but the Major League press release does not say steroids. And Alex Sanchez says he didn't use steroids. So where are we?
Sources are reporting that that's what it was, but that's not the way it's released, announced. and that apparently is part of the deal. Manny Ramirez hits the fly ball to right center. Bernie Williams puts it away. Top of the order coming up, Jeter, then A-Rod and Sheffield. It's 1-1. Now the Yankees last of the third. 1-1 the score. David Wells on the mound for the Red Sox. Derek Jeter at the plate. Jeter hit a single his first time. He'll be followed by Alex Rodriguez and then Gary Sheffield. 1 run, 3 hits for the Yankees. 1 run, 2 hits for the Red Sox. We discovered after the inning that Giambi had been charged with an error on that ground ball hit by Damon in the Red Sox after the third. That's past Bill Miller down the line. Extra bases. Into the corner. Digging it out is Ramirez. And Jeter is standing at second with a double. Now let's go to Sam Ryan with Yankees general manager Brian Cashman. Sam?
And John, Brian Cashman to answer some questions about steroids. Alex Sanchez, the first guy with a positive test. Now, baseball officials were hoping the policy would be a deterrent because no guy wanted to be the first positive test. Sanchez is. What does it say about the policy to you?
Well, it's clearly progress. There's a policy in place, and if someone is going to get wrapped up, they're not going to get by. So, and the game won't stand for it. So that's progress, and we move forward, and hopefully this is all in our rearview mirror.
Now, what is your understanding of the suspension for a first violation?
10 days.
Is it 10 days or 10 games?
It's a good question. It's 10 days, is my understanding, but we're about to find out, actually, since this new policy just got implemented. So
I know we don't want to get into semantics here, but we just wanted to clear that up. As far as HGH, now that is on the banned list of banned substances, but there's no testing for it because it's not detectable through urine. What's going to stop a guy from taking HGH, which is human growth hormone?
Well, I know one thing. Where is it? I had to pause and watch that. As an industry, we're all looking to be the best on this issue as we possibly can be, and whatever's in place now, they're constantly trying to revise and get better. Bud Selig's worked on this for quite some time, and we've been taking positive steps, and we'll continue to do so. So, in time, I think we'll be taking care of all these issues. And again, this would be one subject that we won't have to talk about during a game or during the winter. Again, and the focus will be back on the field where it belongs.
Well, the focus was off the field during the off-season. Jason Giambi, his grand jury testimony was leaked. He did come to New York. He made an apology to the media. Couldn't say what he was apologizing for. But what are your expectations of him as far as the policy is concerned?
Well, I think we've learned a lot, since Jason came here. He's taken responsibility. He hasn't run and hide. He's addressed it, which I think has put him in a better situation to survive this controversy that he was engulfed in this winter. And he's now had a positive spring training, which made him less of a question mark after the results that we saw. So we're pretty happy now that we think we have a productive player going forward for us on the remainder of his contract. And the fans are embracing him. And mentally, he's back to just enjoying the game of baseball. And as you saw in his first at-bat, he got a hit. We hope that's one of many to come for us throughout the year. And again, the policy is not going to be forgiving for anybody. If somebody's going to be wrapped up in doing something wrong, the game is going to bring that person down. So, that's the effect of this thing. And I think as an industry, we all think it's going to work, and we're excited about that. And so we can, again, talk about the great things that take place, which is on the field, the performances of these great players.
Talking about the great things that take place, you're talking about the applause that he got tonight. It's opening night. What thoughts do those conjure up for you, Brian?
I was happy for him. Again, he made some mistakes. He's been, accountable for him to some degree, and he's tried to do every interview since. And I think that the fans, or people in America especially, like to see someone take responsibility, try to work through a problem, admit a mistake, and move forward. And I think those people are a lot more easier to root for than maybe some others that try to, deny or what have you. And so in Jason's case, I think he's handled this thing as well as he possibly can, given the circumstances. And, that makes at least some of the population try to get behind him and support him. And, we as an organization, we're here as teammates that made the decision. It's, it was a difficult circumstance, but now it's time to move on. And as long as he moves on like everybody else, and they're taking the field proper and clean, then I think people will be very happy and pleased with the results.
Thank you, Brian. Let's send it to John.
Gary Sheffield into the alleyway out there in left center to knock Jeter home. And the Yankees have taken the lead here. And they're hitting the ball hard against Wells in this inning. Jeter with that double right past third to get the inning started. A-Rod almost had a home run. The ball just foul. And now Sheffield rips a shot to knock in the run.
Well, David Wells makes a mistake. He gets a fastball right in the middle of the plate. And when you do that to Gary Sheffield, he's going to hit it hard. Just a matter of whether it stays in the ballpark or not. And this is an extra base hit up the gap. Home run in a lot of other ballparks, but a double here in Yankee Stadium. Remember, it's 399 to that point. Most other ballparks are 350 to 360 in that gap.
That's a lot of right-handed hitters called that gap in left center Death Valley. In the old days, before they remodeled Yankee Stadium, it was 457 feet to that spot. You had to hit it all the way to the bleachers to get a home run.
John, I want to finish one thing about that Alex Sanchez. We need to give his side of the story. He says that he bought multivitamins and protein shakes and muscle relaxers and stuff he bought over the counter, and that's somehow that came up to be a positive test, but he said he does not take steroids.
He says he's going to fight his case. Breaking for third is Sheffield. Renteria is going to make the play that he felt a little safer over to first base. So Sheffield makes it to third. Out number 2. Sierra is retired. The first offense under Major League Baseball's new testing policy is a 10-day suspension without pay. And then if there's a second offense, 30 days without pay. And then a third offense, 60 days. And as was echoed in the congressional hearings, it's a 5 strikes and you're out policy, although even then, if there is a 5th offense, the commissioner has it within his discretion to decide what penalty to mete out. But I agree with you, Joe. Your comment, baseball did not announce that this was testing positive for steroid use. And I think it's unfair to the players themselves.
Right.
Because we could speculate about all kinds of things that may be tested positive for, right? I mean, announce what it was for.
Well, if that's
and then,
part
and
of your...
There's no speculation about it.
If that's what you think is going to be a deterrent to using, steroids, then disclosure is part of what you said is going to help, eliminate the use of steroids and peer pressure. I think those are the 2 most important things. At least that's from my perspective. I thought that, a guy that tested positive, you put his name out there, you tell what he did, why. I thought that would help deter some other people from doing it.
I mean, that's baseball said that they thought the public disclosure was going to be the biggest deterrent of all.
Right.
But they're actually disclosing publicly just that the guy tested positive for something that was banned. 2-1 the count to Matsui. Sheffield at third. 2-1 the Yankees lead, and Wells misses high. 3-1. Some of the pitfalls of baseball's steroid policy, it excludes some steroids from being tested for. Threw him a curveball on 3-1 and dropped it in there for a called strike 2. Human growth hormone is not covered. Amphetamines. Policy enforcement decisions are self-administered. Testing will be suspended if the government investigates the plan. All of a sudden, there might be no plan at all. 3-2 the count. That's up the middle. Base hit. Matsui comes through in the clutch. His second hit. So 2 runs are in as Sheffield scores. It is 3-1 Yankees.
Well, it's not a bad pitch from David Wells. Looks like it's a little slider or change up down. It's not a fastball, and it's down, and Matsui doesn't try to pull it. Just goes right back through the middle with it. So he doesn't try to pull it. That was like a cut fastball. He reaches out, hits it right back through the middle. Good hitting by Matsui. He didn't get the ball down as much as he would like, but it wasn't a bad pitch.
So Wells has given up 2 in the inning, and now here in the third is behind 3-1. Here is Jorge Posada, his former battery mate. Renteria can't handle it. And I don't know if he's going to have a play on anybody, even if he did.
No, I think that was going to be a base hit the way it was played. I thought Bill Miller would cut that ball off. He did not, and it put a lot of pressure on the shortstop to catch the ball that deep and have to try to throw someone out at first base. This ball's not hit sharply. See, Miller, I thought he was going to go after it and maybe cut it off. But you see, that ball's deep in the hole. It's going to be a very difficult play for Renteria. And they called it a base hit, which I think it should have been called a base hit. That ball's deep in the hole. It would have been a long way for Miller to go, but I think the only chance for him to make the play would have been for Miller to cut it off.
Now Giambi. Giambi, single to right his first time, helping set up the first run to get the shift on for him. 3 infielders to the right of second. And I think he might have crossed up Varitek there. That was a curveball, and it's lucky it didn't just go right by Varitek.
Well, Varitek started out, and I guess David Wells said, okay, I forgot it was a man on second base. You know, a lot of times when a guy gets to second base, you use either an indicator, which means you use the sign after the indicator, or you use the second sign or the third sign. And with a runner, no one on, you use the first sign. And he probably, the first sign there was a curveball, and then he went to a fastball, and Wells threw what he saw first. He forgot that there was a runner at second, and they were on the second, using the second sign or whatever the indicator was. Well, you see the angle that Bill Miller took was deep. He didn't go to cut across.
So Matsui safe at second. Posada safe at first. And I don't think Renteria had his only possible play was going to be on Matsui at second, but Matsui got an excellent jump, but I don't think he really had a clear shot at Matsui at second base. And the official score, I think, agreed, so they gave Posada credit for the base hit.
Yeah, I still think the only play was for Bill Miller to cut it off, and you know he couldn't do that, so it's a base hit.
Giambi is the 7th hitter of the inning. And that hits him. Not that Giambi did much to try and get out of the way of it. The bases are loaded.
He didn't do anything to get out of the way of it. The ball was off the plate inside. He just turned in.
And Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, is going to go out and talk to David Wells. He's a little frustrated right now.
Well, let's watch and see how much movement Giambi has. See, he doesn't try to get out of the way at all. He just leaves his elbow out there. But the difference here is that he doesn't have that padding on that he used to wear, unless it's underneath his outer shirt. You see David Wells shaking his head like, well, he didn't even try to get out of the way.
The Red Sox bullpen is going to get busy. Bases loaded, and the Yankees here in the 3rd inning have a chance to open up a big early lead with Randy Johnson on the mound. Bernie Williams knocked in a run with a fly ball his first time. Oh, 1 ball and no strikes. Three men on, 2 men out. Big moment early in this game. Matsui at third, Posada at second, Giambi at first. David Wells from the windup against Bernie Williams. And now he's behind him 2-0. Blaine Neal, a right-hander recently acquired, is the man warming up there in the Boston bullpen. But David Wells, he's in a crossroads in this game. This game could get out of hand right here for the Red Sox chances. Already down 3-1. Bases loaded. Bernie fouls that fastball away. That's a big pitch, 2-0.
Well, David Wells made a pretty good pitch. The ball was moving away from Bernie Williams. Bernie was sitting on a fastball, and he was trying to get a ball middle of the plate so he could drive it, but that ball kind of tailed away from him. It starts trying the middle of the plate, but see it tails away toward the outside corner. That's good movement on a 2-0 fastball.
Bernie Williams. The Yankees, he first signed his first professional contract in 1986. Neal warming up in the bullpen. 3 men on, 2 men out. 2-1 to Bernie. Curveball, and that was a beauty. Bernie over the top of it. Bernie, who's got a lifetime .301 batting average. He had one of his worst years last year, though. He is 36 years old, and he knows that this could be his last season with the Yankees. 3 men on, 2 men out, all the runners ready to go in anything. 41-year-old David Wells laboring here in the third. He's thrown 25 pitches in this inning. He balked. He balked.
But what he did is he started, and he didn't want to throw that pitch. And he stopped. Once you're in the wind-up position, you cannot start and then stop. If you're in a stretch, you can start and step off the rubber and stop. But once you're in the wind-up position, once you start, you have to complete your delivery to the plate. See, he's in the wind-up. So he starts and then he steps off. You can't do that. You have to continue your motion. Watch, he's in the wind-up. He starts right there by stepping back, and then he steps off. That is a balk. You can do that from the stretch if you're in a stretch position, but you can see he's in a wind-up position, and you can't start and then step off.
So now it's 4-1. Runners at second and third, and a curve in the dirt.
And I think that was the problem. He wasn't going to throw a curveball. He was going to throw a fastball, so he said okay to the fastball, but then he went with location. Veritek moved to one spot. He wanted to throw the fastball to another spot, and that's why he stepped off.
Four to 1 Yankees, 3 runs home. Posada at third, Giambi at second. Curveball struck him out. On to the 4th inning. David Ortiz coming up.
ESPN2's Opening Night Baseball, presented by Home Depot. Brought to you by Michelob Ultra. Lose the carbs, not the taste. And T-Mobile, awarded highest-ranked wireless customer service performance by J.D. Power & Associates.
Monument Park here at Yankee Stadium. Yankees, some much history, and a lot of it at the expense of the Red Sox. But that was not the story last year. The Red Sox, the defending champions of the baseball world, but now they're trailing this game, this opening night game, 4-1 is the slugger. David Ortiz stands in against Randy Johnson. Johnson working with the lead for the first time. And there's that slider. And it's 0-2 now. Ortiz ripped a double into the right field corner the first time he saw Johnson.
And that's the first time he's seen the slider. And remember one thing, in the past, the Red Sox have a very good hitting ball club. So down 3 runs early in the ball game didn't faze them at all. But you're facing Randy Johnson.
Another slider, and that is a foul off the foot for Ortiz.
Now, they led the league in runs scored in just about every offensive category last year. But now you have a Randy Johnson that you fall behind 4-1, and we'll find out how this Yankee team is going to be a little different, especially with the starting pitching.
Ortiz doubled and scored a run back in the second. And again, he fouls one off his foot. That was a Johnson fastball at 95 miles an hour.
I haven't seen Johnson throw a lot of splitters to left-handed hitters. He usually goes with the fastball and the slider, which is usually enough. But I didn't see that was a fastball in there, but I'm just wondering if he would throw him a splitter, since Ortiz has never seen him before anyway. But so far he's gone with a fastball and the slider.
0-2 slider, and he just got a piece of that one. David Wells, Joe, he's 41 years old. He's a veteran and an experienced practitioner of the art of pitching. But it looked like he got a little flustered there. As if his focus was lost for a time. That is in there. Strike 3 call, and Ortiz knew it.
And that was a big slider. He started right at David Ortiz, and then it broke step over the plate.
Watch your team's out-of-market games live from anywhere. Log on to ESPN.com for MLB.tv. Live Major League Baseball right to your desktop. MLB.tv now on ESPN.com. Sign up today.
That's right. If you go to ESPN.com, you can click on MLB TV and you'll get access to every pitch of every game, whether it be television or radio or both. It's all live online.
I guess
Check it out.
I guess I have to start carrying my computer again.
Well, why do you think I carry mine? And you can go back and you can access, if you're a Red Sox fan, you want to go access one of those games from game 4, game 5, whatever, game 6, or all 4 of them. They're all still there in the archive. Check it out at ESPN.com. Look for MLB TV. 1-2 now to Kevin Millar. He flied out deep to left, and it really got robbed of a home run by Hideki Matsui, who brought it back into the ballpark, and maybe by the wind as well. High in the air, Jeter. And that's out number 2. Millar is retired. We thought he'd hit one back in the second inning, would have been 2 runs, but Matsui would not allow it.
Well, when this ball was first hit, just the sound of it told me that it was out of the ballpark. Millar thought it was gone. Matsui tracks it down, and he times his leap perfectly.
That was Wells talking to Millar after Millar got robbed. Boomer, I just verifying the fact that, yes, Kevin, you got robbed. Jason Varitek grounded out to short his first time. 2 down, nobody on. 4-1. The Yankees are leading in the 4th. Slider down and in. 1 ball, 1 strike. By the way, between innings, we're going to visit live with Terry Francona from the Boston dugout. We're going to take a short break when the inning is over, and then we're going to come back with Terry Francona before the Yankees come to bat, who has very courteously agreed to visit with us. Jason Varitek, one of Francona's favorite people, and the Red Sox were able to re-sign him. That foul ball off the third base side. And David Wells, after working with him this spring, Joe, he said, hey, I understand what they're talking about with this guy now. He's one of the best I've ever worked with. He makes it easy. 2-2 the count to Varitek. That slider grounded past the bag, a fair ball down the left field line, and a fan reaches over and interferes with it. Cannot interfere with the ball in play. Don't do it. Varitek awarded a double.
Everything kind of happened in slow motion. To watch the swing, it's like he waits on it a little bit longer. See, and just hits it with his hands. He just rolls his hands over, and he pulls it right down the line. He was kind of fooled by the pitch a little bit, but he just used his hands to pull it into the corner, and you can see the fan interfering.
So Varitek gets the double, and here is Jay Payton. Now Payton in a similar spot with 2 down in the second inning, knocked in the run. He checks his swing, and on appeal, Brian Gorman, the first base umpire, says no, he did not swing. 1 ball, no strike.
You know, a lot was made, when they made Jeter captain of the Yankees. Well, Varitek has been, now the captain of the Boston Red Sox. And I think that's quite an honor for both of them. As you see the C on his uniform. They do not do that with the Yankees, but we all know that Jeter is the captain.
Wow, Payton with a wild swing and that high fastball. It was up around his eyes. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Again, Payton hits hard stuff very well, so he will go out of the strike zone every once in a while.
Not that you have that much time to decide with Randy Johnson.
Yeah, I would believe that if Randy would get ahead of him in the count, he would throw the splitter this time, not the slider or the fastball.
1-1.
Another fastball in.
Jeter throws him out. That's the inning. Runner stranded. Still 4-1 Yankees. We're going to be chatting with Terry Francona. Middle of the fourth, 4-1 Yankees over the Red Sox. And we're very pleased to be joined by the manager of the Red Sox, Terry Francona. And he's live down in the Boston dugout.
Well, Terry, I wanted to ask you, when the ball Millar hit in the second inning when the runner at second base was first hit, I thought it was a home run. Did it appear that way on the field?
Joe, we all did. I don't know about on the field, but in the dugout, I jumped up. I thought it was a home run. You know, you see it on the replay. It ended up being a heck of a play, but I thought he had more than that when the ball left the bat.
Terry, David Wells, he's been around forever, but it looked like he was got out of sorts there. He hit Giambi in an 0-2 pitch, then a balk on a play you would see with a much younger guy out there.
Yeah, all the things I said before the game, you kind of strike that. I said, you know, he'd never balk, he wouldn't walk anybody, and he's done both. You know what, though? He's done this a long time. I mean, we're still a walk, a bloop, and a home run from being right back in this game. But regardless of how this game ends up, he's going to be okay.
And Curt Schilling, the 13th, you think that's going to hold up? He's going to be back?
Yeah, he threw 88 pitches in 8 innings yesterday. He'll make a start in AAA, and he'll be on schedule, hopefully, to pitch the 13th against the Yankees.
Terry, many thanks, and we're going to let you get back to work here.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Good luck against Randy. Scoring 4 runs.
Terry Francona, and again, we're always very, very pleased when the manager agrees to come on with us right during the game. David Wells, 3 innings. He's given up 4 runs and 7 hits and thrown 58 pitches. 27 of them he threw in the 3rd inning alone. Big curveball for a strike to Tony Womack. Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez will follow. Bill Miller playing shallow at 3rd for the speedy Womack, who hit into a force play his first time. Another curveball. That's tapped foul. Now it's 0-2. We're also going to visit with Joe Torre, the Yankee manager from the Yankee dugout, after the Yankees bat. So stay tuned for that. Joe Torre, who at one time used to be a broadcaster, right? He was between managing jobs, and he was a good one.
Yeah, he was a broadcast for the Angels.
I'm glad he's managing.
He is too, I'm sure.
Base hit for Tony Womack. That'll bring up Derek Jeter. Womack with his first hit as a Yankee. I asked Womack how he was because I read where he had to miss a few games late in the spring, and I asked him what happened. And he said he got drilled right in the knee by a pitcher with the Toronto Blue Jays. So that sat him down for a little bit, but he's back. He said he's ready to go. And let's see if he's ready to go right here, Joe. What do you think? He can steal a base.
Well, he can definitely steal a base, but I don't think that with a 4-1 lead, I think he's going to let Jeter hit.
Wells with the slide step, and there's ball 1 to Jeter.
And if David Wells uses that slide step, he should stay at first base. You're not going to get a jump on that kind of a move, but it also takes a little bit away from David Wells also. So that's another reason you might stay there, because you're not as effective from the slide step as you are from the leg kick. And Jeter or A-Rod may be able to bring you home easily.
So again, as Womack is back to the bag,
I think that's
it's not stealing a bag, it's just the threat of a steal.
I think that's one of the things people misunderstand. You don't always have to steal bases to have an effect on the game if you're a base stealer. Because David Wells, you see him throwing to first base. He hadn't done that against anyone else. He realizes that he's a base stealer. And that changes the way that he pitches. So in turn, that changes the game. You do not always have to, if you steal a base in the late innings and you score a run, as Dave Roberts did in last year's playoff game, it becomes the most valuable weapon on the field. But other times you can make it valuable just by your presence at first base.
1 ball and no strikes. Wells went to the big leg kick there with a curveball. And shallow right is Payton. And back to the bag at first is Womack. And Jeter is retired for the first time tonight. He had a single in the first and a double in the 3rd.
And that shows how crafty David Wells is. He knows himself that he's not as effective with the slide step. So he used a couple of slide steps, threw to first base a couple of times, then went with the big leg kick so he could get more on his pitches. And he may do the same thing here with A-Rod. Use the slide step just to show Womack that he has it, and then go back to the big leg kick so he can make a better pitch to Alex Rodriguez.
David Wells wearing Babe Ruth's old number 3 Now with the Red Sox facing his old team, the Yankees, here at Yankee Stadium. It's baseball's opening night. The Red Sox got a run in the second inning to go ahead against Randy Johnson, the big unit, in his Yankees debut. The Yankees tied the ball game in the last of the second and then scored 3 times in the third inning. At some point during the inning, Wells almost started to self-destruct, hitting Jason Giambi on an 0-2 pitch to load the bases, and then committing a balk on really a kind of a play you would associate with a youth league. That's a base hit for Alex Rodriguez, his first hit of the night, and the Yankees have another threat going here against David Wells, and the big hitters are up. A-Rod with the single. Now Sheffield, Ruben Sierra behind him.
Well, he went to the slide step again, and make no mistake about it, you lose a little of your velocity and location when you use the slide step, because you're speeding up your body, and your body gets in front of your arm, so you're not throwing the same, have the same effectiveness. And A-Rod just takes his fastball, rips it into left center field over the head of Renteria. And Womack, this is what Joe Torre wanted him for. He wants speed on the bases. He wants to be able to manufacture runs every once in a while.
A strike on the inside to Gary Sheffield. Sheffield has grounded out and has doubled home a run.
Last year, even though the Yankees were playing very well, scoring a lot of runs early in the year, when we came to Yankee Stadium, Joe Torre told me he was still concerned at the fact that most of their RBIs and their runs were being scored by the home run. He wanted to be able to manufacture some runs every once in a while.
That one is right to the shortstop, Renteria. No chance to double up either Womack or A-Rod. So some bad luck there for Gary Sheffield. 2 down. Now tomorrow, a lot of the other teams around baseball will begin their seasons. We'll have an opening day triple header presented by the Home Depot tomorrow on ESPN and here on ESPN2 at 1 o'clock on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. It'll be Tony Peña's Kansas City Royals against the Detroit Tigers, and Alan Trammell's ball club looks new and improved. At 2 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, it'll be Carlos Beltran, Pedro Martinez, and the Mets in Cincinnati up against Adam Dunn, Ken Griffey Jr., and the Reds. 5 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. The Cubs and the D-backs in the desert. And that slow curveball, Renteria over to Bellhorn for the force out on Rodriguez. Just like that, the inning is over. Still 4-1. We're going to chat with Joe Torre between innings. We'll be back with Joe Torre in a minute. We're at Yankee Stadium opening night. That's Randy Johnson on the mound. His manager, Joe Torre, is down in the dugout and ready to visit with us, Joe.
But first of all, Joe, thanks for coming on. I usually have to come into your locker room to talk to you.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do that before the game.
I want to find out, you know, Randy Johnson. Last year, I remember talking to you before Game 7, and you hadn't decided on who was going to start. Now you have a guy like Randy Johnson. Do you feel more comfortable about your season?
Yeah, as long as he doesn't pitch Game 6. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Randy Johnson, you know, JoJo, when you have one of these guys, it just makes the rest of the staff a lot better.
Joe, what about Randy tonight? I mean, I remember when you had Roger Clemens here, sometimes in the big games, he had a little hard time with all that adrenaline pumping. What about the big unit?
Yeah, I think that's a big difference in Roger and the big unit, is the fact that the unit just seems to get in that into that zone and seems to be able to carry it out to the mound. Even here, first time at Yankee Stadium as a Yankee, was pretty impressive.
All right, Joe, we're going to let you get back to work here.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you later on.
Yeah, many thanks to Joe Torre for visiting with us here between innings. And, of course, they're the managers. We like to let them get back and do their job.
Correct.
After they chat with us. So here we go now. The Red Sox in the 5th inning against Randy Johnson. It'll be Bill Miller. And that slider is too low for ball. I thought it was an interesting observation, though, from Joe Torre about Randy Johnson and staying on top of things, keeping his emotions in check. 1 ball, no strikes to Miller. I mean, when Randy Johnson came out of the dugout to walk across Yankee Stadium to that bullpen way out there in left center field, the park was 2/3 or more filled then. And he got a huge ovation as he walked out of the dugout. And then they started doing a Randy Johnson cheer. Broken bat, Jeter throws out Bill Miller. There is 1 away here in the Boston 5th inning.
Well, John, I think all the Yankee fans are aware of the fact that George Steinbrenner and the Yankees wanted to acquire Randy Johnson at the trading deadline last couple of years, actually. And I think Yankee fans feel like if we would have had Randy Johnson last year in the playoffs, maybe the playoffs would have, ended differently. At least they would have known who they were going to start in Game 6 or 7. And as I said to Joe, he had to decide, and it was a big decision for him.
Mark Bellhorn, there's ball 1. Bellhorn hitting 9th in the order. He struck out looking his first time. Randy Johnson, I mean, his name is synonymous with strikeouts. He's had 4 strikeouts in 4 and a third innings so far tonight. And that's a ball down and in, 2-0.
And the interesting thing with Randy Johnson, John, all of his strikeouts have been called third strikes. So he and Joe West behind the plate are working well together.
2-0 the count to Bellhorn. That's a fair ball. No chance for A-Rod to get to it. Down the left field line it goes. Matsui plays the carom, and Bellhorn has a stand-up double.
Well, I watched Randy on that pitch, and he kind of looked like, well, I made the pitch, but they hit it down the line. What I'm thinking about is scouting reports and the fact that they do not have a lot of history with some of these hitters. But when he throws the slider, they're going to have to pull it or they're going to break their bat. My point is, I'm wondering if, Ray-Rod should be a little closer to the bag. We've had 2 balls hit down the line. They're not hit that hard, both on sliders in. When the slider's coming in to a right-handed hitter, the third baseman's supposed to be alerted and move that way.
Grichuk hit almost the same ball.
Yeah, and they were both on sliders in. So you have to, usually the catcher will tell the third baseman when you're going to throw a changeup in or a slider in. And the third baseman will adjust accordingly on the pitch.
Damon with strike 1 on a slider away. And there's another one right on the outside corner. Strike 2. Damon was grounded out to second and been safe on a Giambi error. So he is 0 for 2 against Randy Johnson. Damon had only faced Randy 1 other time in his career, and the big unit struck him out. As another slider, he got that slider up a little bit.
And it was in. It stayed in. That was not the pitch he was trying to make with an 0-2 count.
I mean, these last, 8, 9, 10. Well, here's what you're talking about, Joe.
Yeah, see, it's supposed to be away. Look where that ball is. He left it on the inside. You can see Posada set up on the outside part of the plate, even off the plate, and that ball was on the inside corner.
And the high fastball, they tried to put him away, but Damon hangs tough. In the last 10 years or so, since Randy Johnson really became the Randy Johnson we think of now, and he harnessed all that stuff, it's very rare to see him miss up with that slider like he did to Damon. I mean, before that, it would happen all the time, but then he harnessed it, and it was always down around the knees or even low. That one was up, too, fouled away.
One thing to remember, we talked about the cold weather, as Posada's going to go out and talk to him. Cold weather, pitchers do not like to pitch in the cold weather either. It's tougher to get your grip, and sometimes you do not finish the pitch as you would in warm weather. So I think cold weather affects both the hitters and the pitchers.
0-2 the count to Johnny Damon. Well, it was right around 40 degrees at game time tonight with the wind blowing. The wind chill was at 35 degrees. That was when the game started. There's a good one.
Yeah, slider down and away, and I think that's what Posada went out and said, look, let's make a great pitch. Come on, let's drop one off low and away. Let's not throw a strike with it. And he gets Damon to get the way out in front of the pitch. Now watch where Posada goes. Get it out there, and he gets it out there. And you see him give him, that's what I was talking about. Watch him, he'll give him the glove to show him that's exactly where I wanted that pitch.
Now Renteria very high and away for ball 1. It makes the catcher look good when pitcher struggles a little bit. He goes out and has a few words, and then he comes back and the guy makes a killer pitch.
Well, I think that's one of the most underrated things about catching. I mean, how much they actually help their pitchers over the course of the season.
That one's in there for a strike.
I remember the conversation a couple of years ago. I said I thought Posada should definitely be in the running for the most valuable player in the league because he was handling the pitching staff of the Yankees, and he was hitting well, and he was driving in runs. I mean, defense is a big, important part of the catching position.
Renteria takes inside for a ball. 2-1. Now Renteria is one of the, he's really about the only Red Sox hitter who's had any kind of significant experience against Randy Johnson to have had any success against him at all. before tonight. He was hitting .280 lifetime against Randy. 7 for 25. Tonight he struck out and grounded into a double play, though. That's a foul out of play. Base hit here could mean a run. And Renteria with the Cardinals was always tough in the clutch. 2 years ago, he was about the toughest out in a spot like this in the National League.
And he's been that way for a long time. And he got the game-winning hit for the Florida Marlins in the bottom of the 10th inning to win the 7th game of the World Series for the Marlins.
1997. 2-2. Little slow bouncer to short. Jeter got a bad hop, and he comes up with it. A wide throw, and Giambi kept the foot in the bag. The inning is over. But Jeter with a nice job to come up with a bad hop there. And the Red Sox are shut.